In a lush, secluded Tana village nestled deep within the heart of Africa, the rhythmic beat of drums resonated through the air, carrying the stories of ancestors and the heartbeats of its people. This village, surrounded by towering baobab trees and rolling green hills, was ruled by Chief Mzimba, a man whose wisdom and traditions were the backbone of his community. Among his treasures was his daughter, Chanchan, a young woman of striking beauty and unmatched grace. Her ebony skin shimmered under the sun, and her flowing dress, a masterpiece of white, blue, and red, billowed like a royal banner as she walked. Adorned with intricate beadwork and golden bangles, she was the epitome of an African princess. Chanchan was the pride of the village. She sang with a voice that could calm a storm and danced with movements that mimicked the flowing river. But her spirit was as untamed as the wind, and her heart yearned for a life beyond the confines of tradition. One fateful day, a stranger arrived. His name was Paul, a missionary from a distant land, with skin as pale as the moon and eyes as blue as the sky. He came with a message of love and salvation, carrying a worn Bible and a heart full of conviction. The villagers were wary, their eyes sharp with suspicion, for he was an outsider, and their traditions forbade daughters of the village from mingling, let alone marrying, beyond their people. Chanchan, however, was drawn to him like a moth to a flame. She watched from a distance as Paul taught the children to read under the shade of the baobab tree, his gentle manner and kind words winning over their laughter. His presence stirred something in her, a curiosity that soon turned to admiration, and then to something deeper. Their first meeting was unplanned. Chanchan had ventured to the riverbank to fetch water, her dress catching the sunlight and reflecting the vibrant colors of her spirit. Paul, sketching the landscape in his journal, looked up and was momentarily struck speechless by her beauty. "You must be Chanchan," he said finally, his voice warm and sincere. "The villagers speak of you often." Chanchan tilted her head, her curiosity piqued. "And what do they say?" "That you are a princess with the heart of a lioness," he replied, smiling. She laughed, her laughter like the tinkling of wind chimes. "And what of you, Paul? What do they say about the white man who speaks of God?" "They say I am a stranger," he admitted, scratching the back of his head. "But I hope to be a friend." She arched an eyebrow, smirking. "Friendship is earned, not hoped for. Let us see if you are worthy, Paul the stranger." Their connection was instantaneous, their banter flowing like the river, carrying tales of distant lands and dreams of freedom. Over the weeks that followed, they met in secret, speaking of worlds beyond the hills and stars beyond their sight. Chanchan taught Paul the dances of her people, while he shared stories from his faith, often with a dose of humor. "Your God turned water into wine?" Chanchan exclaimed one evening, her eyes wide with mock indignation. "Our gods bless us with rain, and we call that a miracle. Yours gives you a party." Paul chuckled. Well, perhaps he wanted to show he has a sense of humor, too. But love in the shadow of tradition is a dangerous thing. Word of their secret meetings reached Chief Mzimba, and the village elders convened to discuss this breach of sacred customs. The chief's wrath was like a thunderstorm, fierce and unrelenting. "You have shamed our people, Chanchan," he roared. "Our daughters do not marry outsiders. It is our way." Chanchan stood tall, her dress flowing around her like a shield of defiance. "Father, I love him. Does not love transcend all? Love is not the law here." Chief Mzimba bellowed. "You will end this madness, or you will no longer be my daughter." Torn between her love for Paul and her duty to her family, Chanchan sought guidance from the village's wise woman, Mama Ndidi. The old woman's heart was filled with the scent of herbs and the whispers of ancient wisdom. "Mama Ndidi, what do I do?" Chanchan pleaded, pacing the floor. "My heart and my people's ways are at war." The wise woman's eyes, clouded with age, held a knowing glint. "Child, a love is a fire. It can warm or it can burn. You must decide if you are willing to walk through the flames. But what if the flames consume me? Chanchon asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Mama Ndidi chuckled, revealing a toothless grin. Then dance while you burn, my child. At least the story will be worth telling. Chanchon and Paul decided to face the village together. On the night of the full moon, they stood before the gathered community, their hands clasped and their hearts resolute. Paul spoke fast, his voice steady and strong. I do not come to take Chanchon away from her people, he said. I come to stand with her, to honor her traditions while sharing my own. Chanchon followed, her voice ringing with passion. I love him not because he is different, but because he sees me as I am. Can we not find a way to honor both love and tradition? The villagers murmured among themselves, their faces a mixture of anger, confusion, and curiosity. Chief Mzimba finally spoke. Love is not our law, he said. But neither is hate. If you can prove that your union brings strength to our village and not division, I will consider your plea. The turning point came during a fierce drought that struck the village. Crops withered, rivers ran dry, and despair crept into the hearts of the villagers. In the midst of this crisis, Paul proposed an idea. Drawing from his knowledge of irrigation, he worked with Chanchon to design a system that would channel water from a distant spring to the village. Together, they rallied the community, young and old, to dig trenches and lay bamboo pipes. The work was grueling, and tensions ran high, but Chanchon's unwavering resolve and Paul's encouragement united them. As days turned into weeks, hope began to bloom alongside the effort. One morning, as the first drops of water trickled into the village, the people erupted into joyous celebration. Women danced, children splashed in the newly flowing streams, and men clapped Paul on the back in gratitude. Chief Mzimba, witnessing the transformation, called for a gathering under the baobab tree. Today, he began, his voice filled with emotion, we have seen that love can do what tradition alone cannot. Paul and Chanchon's union has brought life to our village in its darkest hour. Perhaps love, like water, knows no boundaries. The elders nodded in agreement, their skepticism replaced with newfound respect. The chief turned to Chanchon and Paul, his stern expression softening. You have proven that love is a force greater than fear. You have my blessing. A serene scene under a massive baobab tree with the African chief standing before the crowded African villagers. Now a beautiful African appears in the middle with a white man. Now the chief calls them forward. Paul and Chanchon's union became a symbol of unity, teaching that love, though sometimes forbidden, has the power to change hearts and traditions, sometimes with a little laughter along the way. And so, the princess in her white, blue, and red dress walked hand in hand with the man who saw her for who she truly was, their love a beacon of hope for generations to come. Make sure to hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications for more captivating African tales.